today, Sumi. You only have a 13-hour memory span. This is due to an accident that happened 4 years ago. I'm writing down what you need to know in order to live. First, you must read this diary every morning. This is your memory. Second, you must write in the diary every day. What you did, what you talked about, medical records, be as precise as possible.
Well, hey, great! Now I can follow the very specific rules for Chihiro's memory defect. Because it's not like they'd break every single one of them with no explanation at all. And it's also not possible that Chihiro would lie in her diary, thereby undermining the authenticity of anything she writes to her next self for contrived, arbitrary, manufactured drama. And you know, the last thing that I would want as a viewer and a person who appreciates good storytelling would be for her to discover the fact that her past self lied to her and have an emotional breakdown so that we could get an intimate window into the fragility and brokenness of Chihiro. I mean, who would want any of that, right? Right? And the show sucks! Well, alright, let's get back to the ongoing stupidity of Chihiro's memory defect, already in progress.
Try to avoid contact with others as much as possible. Someone may take advantage of your condition and do awful things to you. Or conversely, you may cause someone a great deal of trouble yourself.
Yep, you have a memory defect. Never enjoy any life or anything of any kind. Trust no one ever, especially not men. They're all disgusting pigs. Trust me, I'm allegedly the you that wrote this yesterday. As an addendum to what I said last time about Chihiro not having a legitimate reason to distrust anyone, I present this. Now, you might hear this warning from herself to herself and think, well, duh, that's why she distrusts Renji. And that would make sense on paper. Why did I write that? No pun intended. However, she is the one who asked Renji to be her friend. She is and always has been making a proactive effort to get closer to him. So this warning might as well be a blaring car alarm because clearly no one is paying attention. Furthermore, it still doesn't make her selective hostility sensible. It explains why she might want to not tell Renji about her novel at all, but not her nasty reaction to him simply encouraging her after she already ignored the warning yet again and decided to tell him anyway. That would be explained by autism or Asperger's syndrome, neither of which Chihiro has. So yeah, nothing has been explained.
If you meet anyone, record their characteristics and information as accurately as possible.
I described you as an older male student in a school uniform. If you showed up in street clothes or before 3 o'clock, I wouldn't know who you were.
What? That was as accurately as possible? Well then, let's see how many anime characters fit that incredibly accurate description. Oh, okay, that's enough. I said stop! Jeez. If you're ever making an argument and you have to use Tenjo Tenge, you can bet you've already made your point. But I mean, any guy from Renji's school could have arrived at the train station and she would have just inherently assumed it was him. Chihiro even says that if Renji shows up before 3 or decides to wear street clothes, she'd have no idea who he was. As much detail as possible. Anyway, back to this whole memory defect thing. They do a really terrible job of explaining it despite how many times they repeat themselves, so let's see if you can figure it out. Ready? Okay.
13 hours. That's how long your memory span is?
If I wake up at 7 a.m., I can remember what happens until 8 p.m. By midnight, everything before 11 a.m. has been erased. And at 7 the next morning, I don't remember anything that happened.
Then that means when you wake up, you've forgotten everything about me?
No, that's not true. I can recall my most important memories over and over again. And I can retain those same important memories if I read my diary at 9 p.m. and recall an event before I go to sleep. I still remember it when I wake up.
Any luck? No? Alright, well let me give you the extremely simple explanation that the show's writers just couldn't handle. Let's say Renji arrives at 3 p.m. at the train station and meets with Chihiro. This just created memory now has a 13-hour lifespan. As it nears the 9 and 10 hour mark, Chihiro starts to lose details and it becomes fuzzier and fuzzier until 4 a.m. when she forgets it completely. However, she can cheat this slightly by reading about the event tied to the memory in her diary, which allows her to retain the memory, albeit a fairly hazy version of it. That is how her memory defect works. It really is that simple. However, they're being intentionally confusing here and obfuscating the issue so that when the big twist ending rolls around, you'll think it's actually possible, when in reality, it's just contrived crap. Don't worry, we'll get there. For now, back to the nonsense! Chihiro blathers on and on about her memory defect, even stating some things that will be proven flat out wrong by the end of the show until... Wait, what the hell is going on in this shot? The light coming from the 2 lamps in the foreground and the background are centered on the 2 lamps, as they should be, but this one here is arbitrarily centered on Renji for no reason. And where the hell in all of civilization are there 2 lampposts on the same block 7 feet apart? Oh no! Watch out, Chihiro! The church is gonna get you! We cut from that to yet another pointless contrived sequence of events involving Renji taking a pot of food next door. See, this scene wouldn't even be necessary if they had just left Kuze in the scene where Renji bumps into Hamura downtown, but then they wouldn't be able to pad out the show needlessly, and who would want that?
I'll see you later!
Have a good day!
Every day's the same. I was happy to see Kuze-san yesterday. That's because I remember exactly who Kuze-san is. I continued seeing her for the simple reason that I wanted to be with her. But every time Chihiro sees me, it's different. Because I'm a stranger every time.
You know, making each shot smaller and slightly darker does not justify using the same 3 shots over and over. Choose different angles that indicate the increasing instability of the grasp Renji has on his conviction to be with Chihiro. Making the screen smaller and smaller is lazy, not artistic.
Guess you won't be there today. What are you doing here, Himura-san?
Chihiro couldn't come because she caught a cold, so she sent me. It's just a cold. But I kept her in just in case. Why didn't you come yesterday? You promised you'd be here. Chihiro was waiting until midnight.
Well, I thought you didn't want him to be around her, but now you're chiding him for not being around her. What the hell is going on? This is yet another change from the visual novel that doesn't seem like a lot, but actually makes a big difference. The Himura of the latter tale shows up to inform Renji that Chihiro won't be showing up today. He does this not out of any personal desire to do so, but simply because Chihiro asked him to the day before. He doesn't get angry, he doesn't scold Renji or anything like that. And finally, to end the conversation, he gives him the general advice that he should keep his promises. That if he says he's going to do something and someone is depending on him to do it, he should do that thing. He says it in such a roundabout way because in the VN, his character is consistent. He's trying to be a role model and give good advice, but he's simultaneously couching it in a general context so as not to sound like he's encouraging Renji to be with Chihiro for any reason, much less out of guilt, which is why he also doesn't try to blame Renji for what happened to her. However, meanwhile...
You promised you'd be here. Chihiro was waiting until midnight. Promised you'd be here. Chihiro was waiting. She must have been so happy yesterday.
Himura basically says that the entire thing was Renji's fault. This is a big difference because it makes him sound childish and petty when he is her caretaker and clearly the one responsible for letting her go out in the rain at all. This is also an extremely odd occurrence that no one, much less Renji, could have foreseen. It reminds me of the scene in Clannad when Nagisa stands out on the basketball court in the rain for an extended period of time waiting for Tomoya. However, in that instance, Tomoya rightfully yells at her for staying out in the rain like an idiot. There's no adult authority figure who steps in to make him feel bad for someone else's outrageously nonsensical behavior, because that would be stupid. But even dumber than that...
It's not your fault. Chihiro isn't able to make reasonable decisions. And I failed as her guardian.
What?
It's not your fault. And I failed as her guardian.
It's not really your fault, which is why I made it sound like it was your fault and made you feel guilty by telling you about how bad you made Chihiro feel and how you ruined her entire day. But no, it's not your fault. Clearly I'm the asshole. No, that wasn't sarcastic, by the way. Man, I really can't say anything genuine, can I? But even dumber than all of that is that this situation could have been easily avoided by having the two use their mother-loving cell phones. Yeah, cell phones. You know, the primary means of communication for everyone who has one. In fact, you really have to suspend your disbelief to actually argue that Renji would come to see this girl every single day and never ask for her phone number so that he could easily text her if, say, for example, he couldn't make it because of a cataclysmic deluge. It's like in the Clannad VN, when her loving parents who would sacrifice the entire world for her just choose to not rush Nagisa to the hospital because of a little rain in the middle of spring. Man, how much worse can this get?
Please get up and go to school. If you cut class, I'll kill you. No joke.
If I didn't watch it, it didn't happen. I'm also ignoring the fact that Bitch K drinks Hiro's entire energy drink and he desperately needs to stay awake after pulling an all-nighter to meet his manga deadline, only to then chastise him for coming to school in no shape to stay awake for the whole day. After the death threat she sent him! Yep, I'm totally glad I didn't see any of this. That's really what happened. Not like it matters though, since Hiro immediately ditches class to go hang out on the roof with Miyako. You know it would have been actually interesting if the only reason Hiro came to school was a chance to run into her on the roof. Obviously he wouldn't say as much, and he might even act like he has no idea why he came to school, but a simple flash of him thinking about her as he rushed to meet his deadline would be enough. It would betray actual character motivation and further their romance plot. But we wouldn't want any of that, would we? Let's have more convoluted, contrived nonsense get us there instead.
No way! This is a precious place for my alone time.
Fuck you. And how tall is this school? 10 stories? 20? We can't see anything below them other than a minimized forest and the ocean. Are they on a mountain? A volcano? The earthen peak? What is this perspective?
This is so ordinary.
What do you mean, ordinary?
As in textbook.
That was intentional, obviously.
Well, personally, I think your visuals are a little too high impact, Kioske.
Oh no, not this again.
Yes, your images leave too much of an impact on the viewer. You actually make them care. We can't have rebel geniuses like you coming in here and shaking up the status quo. That's why you're so awesome. Terrible, yes. Terrible. Oh yeah. Yes. Oh, that's the good stuff. Yeah.
All that high impact stuff that you shoot tends to win things like special awards. If we want to win the Grand Prix, we really need something with more mass appeal.
All right, that's enough. Everything stops. First of all, you might as well come out and say it like this. Dude, your movie sucks.
Yeah, and I wanted it to suck.
Why don't you want to make good movies?
Good movies never get you anywhere, moron. Bad movies make all the money. Duh.
Second of all, there is only one film festival in all of Japan that gives out any kind of grand prize, and that would be the Tokyo International Film Festival. So let's have a quick rundown, shall we, of several of the most well-known movies that have won their top prize, the Tokyo Sakura Grand Prix. Ooh, Abre los Ojos. Have you even heard of it? 100 points to Gryffindor if you knew that it was remade as Vanilla Sky. Intouchables? Yeah, that's a huge worldwide hit, considering it was a success in France and nowhere else. Oh hey, Heaven Knows What, a film by a couple of American boys that no one has ever heard of. Man, what a collection of mainstream movies with mass appeal. Did they do any research at all before they wrote this crap? No. Back in an actual story, Hiro and Miyako become screensavers in order to walk through silhouettes while talking without moving their lips. Huh. They must have developed psychic powers between edits, I guess. However, these new powers aren't very strong yet, as Hiro inexplicably forgets Miyako's first name.
Mizuki Hayama.
Nice to meet you.
And this is my classmate, Miyamura...
Hirono, I hereby decree that henceforth you shall always call me Miyako. Hear me?
What on earth for?
My heart has shattered into a million tiny pieces. I just don't know what I'm capable of doing right now. You should really never ever call your girlfriend by her last name.
She's not my girlfriend.
Are you serious?
Where's Miyamura?
I think she just broke up with you.
What? See, this is what I meant when I said that Miyako is extremely frustrating because of her constant sarcasm. I initially thought that she left because Hiro forgot her name, since that rightfully and obviously upset her, but no. If that were the case, then she would have gotten up and just left immediately. Instead, she left because Hiro said that she wasn't his girlfriend. Yes, the girl who has exclusively used romance as a disingenuous joke got mad because Hiro said they're not dating. And they're not dating! You can't just do that. It's not an interesting revelation, it's an infuriating mess. You can't just suddenly be serious about something that you have never taken seriously. You're making me feel like an idiot for thinking that every single word she ever said about it was actually reflective of her character's attitude instead of time-wasting BS. And on top of all that, the only reason they were able to afford eating at a restaurant is because Miyako said she would pay. So what we don't see when we immediately cut away is that she completely fucked over the nearly broke main character. So now she's a bitch too. Man, are there any female characters that I'm supposed to actually like? No!
All they care about is the contest. Why don't they just focus on what it is they really want to do?
And what about you? Are you focusing on what you really want to do?
I don't think that I know what I really want to do anymore.
Oh, but you definitely know what other people shouldn't do, don't you, you insufferable cock-ass? Hey, green hair, why are you even with him?
I think we need to stop seeing each other.
Yes, yes, bravo, bravo, yeah! Rejected! Finally, to end the episode, Kei continues to be an insufferable hemorrhoid to Hiro for yawning while she's practicing basketball, then bitches about Miyako for a while, resulting in more contrived bullcrap, and I really, really don't care.
I just accidentally met her on Christmas. I've hardly known her a whole month yet.
Christmas? Is that true? You really did. You ditched me at Christmas to spend time with that girl Miyako Miyamura.
And that's where the scene ends, giving me yet another reason to care about absolutely nothing that happens in this show. I can reduce all the drama created in this episode down to one thing: high school BS. Getting angry and storming off because someone said they're not dating you when they aren't is high school BS. Getting pathetically jealous of someone for spending time with another girl and being too childish to confess your own feelings to him is high school BS. And this whole misunderstanding nonsense at the end is even worse, because it's not even real high school BS. It's cheesy, melodramatic, high school sitcom BS. But remember, this is a real romance story that we're supposed to take seriously. Don't forget. And we're only 3 episodes in. I mean, yeah, technically, I'm done with a quarter of this first series, but wait a minute. I'm a quarter of the way done with this first series.
Let it
Yeah! Yeah!